4, 3, 2, 1, and we are live.
For all of you who are watching online, welcome. This is the Region 10 panel for the Arts Project Support from the Indiana Arts Commission. This is a public meeting of the Arts Council of Southwestern Indiana's panel review session, convened to review and discuss the Indiana Arts Commission's FY24, that's fiscal year, Arts Project Support Grant Program, applications for Region 10. I'm Scott Wiley. I'm located in Evansville, Indiana, and I'm today's review panel facilitator. Some general information. Today is April 27th, especially if you're watching later, and we are meeting online and streaming live for applicants and the public to observe. Just a note, there has been no and is no contact between the panel and audience about the disposition of applicants before, during, or after the panel meeting. This meeting will be recorded and made available upon request. At this time, I'll individually invite each of our panelists to unmute themselves and the staff as well to introduce themselves, stating their name, occupation, and where they are from in the state. So let's start first with the panel. Liz, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Liz Furman-Bragg. I reside in Chandler, Indiana. I am a local arts advocate working with the Arts Council and other area organizations.
Wonderful. Chandler, the town that cares. Next is Kensington.
Hi, my name is Kensington Blaylock Eck. I'm the Patron Services and Events Manager for the Henderson Area Arts Alliance, and super excited to be here today.
That's great. Thank you so much. Jaleesa?
Hello, Jaleesa Slade. I am the owner of Slade Consulting, and I reside in the Indianapolis area.
Wonderful. And Kyle, you're next.
I'm Kyle Darnell, artist and author in Evansville, Indiana. I'm also a high school art teacher.
Cool. Thank you so much. Deontay, you're next.
I'm Deontay Merriweather. I'm the Director of Operations at Wesselman Woods, and I live here in Evansville, Indiana.
Wonderful. Ashley.
Hi there, I'm Ashley Reister. I'm the president of River City Pride, and I live here in Evansville also. Thanks for having me.
We're so glad to have all of you. And now we're going to introduce the staff for Region 10. Anne, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ann McKim. I'm the Executive Director of the Arts Council of Southwestern Indiana, and I am the Regional Arts Partner for the Indiana Arts Commission for Region 10.
Great, thanks so much. I will also just meet, even though they're not going to introduce themselves, that we receive the assistance of staff from the Indiana Arts Commission. They do a wonderful job with the technology and all the other things to make this possible today, especially for those of you who are watching later or who are watching online. Thank you for being with us. Now we're going to begin the panel review, and this is how the process will work. I will announce the application we'll be reviewing and ask the first reader to begin the discussion. The first reader will provide their general assessment of the application based upon the evaluation criteria and their perspective of that criteria. Panelists, please note that the applications do not need to be recapped since everyone has read it. Just provide your comments. After the first reader is finished, I'll ask the second reader to present any new, additional, or opposing comments. We're not looking for consensus, just a full evaluation from the different perspectives that panelists bring to the table. After the second reader is finished, I'll open for discussion for final comments. Remember, in the interest of time, we're only looking for new, additional, or opposing viewpoints. If a panelist has a conflict of interest, that panelist will be placed, you go to some terrible Zoom prison, in virtual waiting room while the application is reviewed. However, there is only one conflict today, so we'll only need to do that once. Finally, once the application has been reviewed by the full panel, we'll ask the panel to update their scores on the online system. It's common for scores to change as the result of this broader discussion, and those scores will then be saved automatically. So before we begin, does anyone have any questions? Okay, hearing none, why don't we go ahead and get started? We're going to start with the application from Actors Community Theater Incorporated. The first reader on that is Jaleesa Slade. So Jaleesa, it's all yours.
Thank you. Under the area of artistic quality, I noted, although the goal of the project was listed, which is to have 2 shows, it was difficult from the information that was given to assess of what the project goals were. Their production team positions are listed, noting that individuals will be selected. So from the information, if it was a little bit more information about what qualifications the selection committee were looking for those individuals, would be a little bit easier to deduce the quality of the selection. Under artist support, I noted there's no financial support, but the workshop leadership and cast are from the community, so it does support Indiana artists. Under community engagement in IDEA, I noted that one area that's often overlooked in IDEA is rural or isolated communities, geographic location. So that's their focus, and gaining access to the arts for those individuals. Very community driven, strong collaboration throughout the project. Their IDEA strategies and marketing were very specific. There's a special marketing committee to focus on marketing to underserved communities. And within their measuring impact, they have several tools that they utilize, which is great. But I did note when we're talking about barriers or access, it's a bit tech heavy with some of the online tickets, online tools for measuring impact. So I just noted that that might be a barrier for some community members, some participants. Under project management, they have the lead project manager. I did notice that maybe some additional information on the experience of that project manager would be helpful. They provided an adequate timeline. It's a simple monthly timeline. It could be more detailed, just to add a bit more information there. And with under the budget, I just noted that there is another request for $5,000 that is out, and additional information maybe on if there's a plan B in case that request does not come in, on how the program would be fully funded.
Thank you so much. That's the kind of thorough review that we're so proud of in this region. And live from New York, our second reader, Kensington Eck.
I think that was beautifully summed up and very thorough. I have nothing further to add.
Great. Thank you so much. Does anyone else on the panel have any other questions? Okay, we're going to take that silence as a no. So I'll go ahead and give you a few minutes to go ahead and update your online scores. If you kind of give me a thumbs up when you've completed that, that's very helpful. Last year, I recounted throughout these breaks for our people online the history of my fine theatrical careers. So I will just remind everyone that I was the star of Oklahoma in 1981 in Parma, Illinois, portraying Farmer Fred. Everybody got theirs in now? Getting close? Getting close. There we go. Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you guys so much. Oh my God, Jaleesa has an actual thumb emoji. That is so cool. Oh my goodness. I hope you can see that on Facebook Live. Thank you guys so much. So that's our first. We'll now move on to our second application, and that's Discovering Downtown Petersburg, their application. And our first reader on that is Kyle. Oh, Kyle, you need to unmute.
As if I haven't been doing this for 3 years on Zoom. All right, so with this one, I really liked the idea of the overall thing of bringing in musical acts to help support the festival in general. I'm a big fan of public events, like venues like that, where people necessarily aren't there for the arts are there for them, they're there to, I think I have an allusion to some kid eating a corn dog and then finding he loves the Duke boys or something. So I liked that aspect of it. I didn't really have anything else for artistic quality. The money goes directly to the artists and not the event itself, and they're all the majority are Indiana artists, so love to see it. It says that the event is free, but it doesn't seem to particularly target underserved communities. But it will show, and people that may not normally go to see these types of bands will be there anyway. I would like to see them show how they are trying to get those communities there. They advertise and they take community feedback through surveys, which I think were through the library. It was just like one location, but those surveys do help feedback with the artists that they select, which I like that. They're taking community feedback so that way they know what specific artists to get. And budget, everything was broken down exactly as you would expect a big organization to do. And what's it called? The timeline of events seems great. I have no notes.
Cool. A good cop? Wonderful. Thank you so much. And our second reader on this one is Liz.
I also found this to be a really strong application. I think the only thing I want to add is that I do feel that they were hitting underserved communities by being a rural community and not having access to this type of event easily and locally, that providing this for such a rural community is a really great way to access the arts. And I love bringing the arts to people too. It's really important. Yeah, I think that's all I have to add. Thanks.
That's wonderful, Liz. Thank you so much. Does anybody else in the panel have any questions or comments they'd like to add at this point?
Yeah, I would love to add, just because I feel like it would really support the future grant applications. I felt like the number of direct participants was a little bit low given the kind of event that it is. And I wanted to know, are they including all the people who are going to come and participate as audience members and enact in the actual project? Because I feel like that would support future applications.
Thank you so much for that input. That's wonderful. Anybody else? Okay, if not, go ahead and update your online score. Give me a thumbs up when you're done. I'll remind everyone, when the University of Evansville put on Oklahoma 2 years ago, I took a crowbar and sat in the audience hoping that I could crowbar the person playing Farmer Fred, and I did have overalls on at the time. Okay, thumbs up from several. Good, good, good. Good. There we go. Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for doing that. Our next application is the Evansville Symphonic Band. And Kensington, live from New York, you're up again.
I love that. Thank you for that intro. Going through from the very top of the application under artistic quality, I felt like the musical quality of the sound recording provided it really demonstrated how the professional sound of the band. I thought it was really strong supporting material. So I love to see that. I loved that most of the bands were from Indiana, or most of the band members were from Indiana. The social media link and website that were provided were professional and engaging. It's great to see an up-to-date website. And then under project management, it would be helpful to have the project management timeline laid out a little bit more clearly with dates kind of near the front of it. It's just a little bit easier for panelists to find that information if it's kept at the front. But that wraps up my review.
Great. And our second reader on this one is Ashley.
Thank you so much, Kensington. I think you did a really great job summarizing. The only thing that I would add is I wondered if there were opportunities to perform the series at different high schools to create more accessibility to underserved populations. The concert being at the same school seemed to barrier and maybe a transportation barrier, but to see that they're offering free concerts, which removes that financial barrier. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Great, Ashley. Thanks so much. Does anybody else have an additional comment or like to ask a question or anything on this application?
I had a comment as far as project management, and it was stated, the timeline. I would have liked more information there, especially about it lists the none of the project information and details, and one date is included in there, but getting some additional information about how the project is actually accomplished from start to finish. I think in that section, that's where they listed the responsibilities for the project staff in that timeline section. So that information isn't clear. And then in the budget, I did note that I would like to have a bit clearer information on what the other is in the expenses, because that number isn't really a round number, and it's having that detailed, that remaining amount detailed would add more transparency, because right now in the budget, it just looks like in order to make the budget equal the income and expenses, that was the remainder and it was put as other. So it would show better planning to have that listed out and attributed to a certain category.
Any additional comments or questions? If not, then go ahead and update your online scores. Give me a thumbs up. I'm going to let everyone know that was fearful that I had, kneecapped the poor young man portraying Farmer Fred. I chose not to, but I thought about it. Thank you guys very much. Okay, our next one we're going to do is the EVSC, which stands for the Evansville Vanderburg School Corporation Foundation's application. And Deontay, you're the first panelist on that one.
Okay, so overall, the project seems to meet the artistic quality evaluation criteria. The project is clear in its goal of providing summer activities for youth and high quality family entertainment. The project's been running for over 30 years, and the organizers have collaborated with EVSC to ensure its success. The project description includes details about performances, the theater, participants, and involvement with various organizations. And additionally, there's a mention of inclusion of professional designers and a production team that indicates commitment to providing quality artistic experience. So nothing to take away from there, but unfortunately, the project does not meet the artistic benefit evaluation criteria. The project's budget doesn't include any stipends for artists involved. And furthermore, there's no indication that the project will provide any other benefits to artists. So the project may not be able to attract or retain the best artists due to a lack of financial incentives or other benefits. So overall, I would say that while the project meets artistic quality, it falls short in the artist benefit evaluation criteria. However, overall, the response provides some information on how the applicant is involving underserved communities and incorporating IDEA strategies in the project, and it could benefit from providing more information with specific details in several areas. The applicant could qualify or clarify methods for involving community and measuring the project's impacts. And then for the budget, I felt that the response was strong and comprehensive. The timeline covers all the project activities, includes community engagement actions. So the budget is well considered and reasonable, and the staffing is sufficient.
Great, thank you so much. And our second reader on this one is Kyle.
Yeah, basically everything that was said, I agree with. I am just a big fan in general, though, of summer musical activities, summer programs for students to continue an education in some sort of way, especially in arts.
Scott, may I hop in with a piece of clarifying information?
Of course you may.
I believe that the artistic payment is what is listed as salaries and contractual services. Those represent the adult artists working on the project, the educators who are directors and musicians and that type of thing.
Great, thanks so much, Anne. So does anybody else have a question or additional comment for the EVSC Foundation application? Okay, if not, go ahead. And oh, there you go, Liz.
Sorry, I had just a quick comment on the IDEA. I was really impressed with the outreach to underserved communities in the audition process. However, the outreach for the audience is not, it doesn't feel as comprehensive as in the audition process. And I'd like to see a little bit more in trying to reach these audiences that perhaps couldn't normally afford to attend an event like this, to bring them in as audience members.
Great. Thank you so much. So we'll go ahead and let everybody update your online scores. It is my great hope that one day the EVSC will in fact put on Oklahoma again, where I plan on trying to audition and pretending to be a high school student again. There we go. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Good, good, good. Okay, there we go. I love these Zoom meetings where we have to go back on the computer and we're all like. So for those of you that are ready, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. We're now going to do something. One of my favorite things is we're going to send Jaleesa to Zoom prison. So she's going to disappear from your screen. There she went. She's gone now. We can talk negatively about her. Now, that anytime we have a panelist who might have a conflict of interest with an application, we always ensure that they aren't part of the discussion to make sure that the decisions are made based on the criteria that are in front of our panelist. So we promise to bring her back. So with that, our first reader on the Lewis J. Cook Family Children's Museum, Evansville, better known as SEMO, is Ashley.
Great. All right. Thank you so much, Scott. Okay, so looking at this application, I thought that artistic quality, the goals were clear and the impact was very clear. They did a great job at laying out what this program is meant to do for the youth of our region, and I love to see it. I'm so sorry, I should have gotten a bigger screen. I don't know why I thought my laptop was going to be sufficient to do both of these things. So I apologize as I'm scrolling, it's taking much longer. So as far as artist support, I love to see the array of artistic representation. So not just a painter, not just a dancer, but you know, they had a magician listed, and sometimes we don't think of artists in other genres. So I love to see just the full array that they represent at the museum. I thought all of their marketing materials and their social media especially looks great, very professional, very well-rounded. Again, we're scrolling. For IDEA, I think SEMO does an excellent job of being accessible to low-income families, offering their free nights and ensuring that people with low income are able to come in for $1. I think our community is very lucky to have an organization that's able to support them. I did wonder, in reading about their board of directors being so heavily involved, I wondered how diverse that board of directors was, and I would love to see a little more about that listed, since they are supporting a diverse population. I'd love to see how intentional they're being in their representation on the board. As far as their budget, the in-kind totals did not match. So the 2,500, 500, that math wasn't correct. So I think they should just take a look. But their staffing and their timeline were very clear.
Okay, thank you so much, Ashley. And our next reader on this one is Kyle.
I mirror most of that, especially with like the budgeting. It's all very clear and organized with them, and timeline. They know how to really fill out an application, you know, like hit everything. When it comes to the artistic quality, the artists, was noted that they're like a range of arts being represented. I really like a few of them, especially like the science, performance arts thing. I just I don't know if I can get behind a magician. I'm sorry. It's really when I looked at that, I was like, oh, storytelling, dance, performative science, and then magic. So that's my only thing. And I can't tell where these artists are from. I tried looking them up to find where they specifically were from. So I can't really say that the funds were going to Indiana artists directly in that sort of way. That's it.
Great. Thank you so much. Anyone else have any additional comments or questions about this one? Kensington?
I wanted to piggyback on something that Ashley had said in regards to the project budget. The cash income and cash expense did not match up either. The totals do, but when you actually do the math, they do not match up. So that would be worth reviewing.
Great, thanks so much. And you know, those types of comments are so helpful to applicants so that they can continue to improve their applications. So if I don't hear any others, we can go ahead and update our list, and then we'll move on to our next item. Great. By the way, in the Rodgers and Hammerstein score and lyrics to Oklahoma, I had 2 lines in the final song: plenty of room to swing a rope, and gonna give you barley, carrots, and pertaters. And it actually is spelled pertater in the actual score. Jaleesa is back. She does not know what we've said about her during her exit, but she's back from Zoom prison. So welcome back. We're so glad to have you. We're now going to move on to our next application, which is the Old Town Players. And our first reader on that's Liz.
Okay. So I found with artistic quality that the goals are very clear as stated, but there wasn't a lot of information regarding the staffing to show that we'll have the quality that were desired from the program. I understand often staff hasn't been chosen, but information here as to how past directors were chosen and the level of experience expected would benefit this section. And then I added later that it was addressed later in the narrative, but not in the area where we were looking for it. So having that information in the place where it needs to be would be really beneficial for the grant in order to keep it getting the highest score it possibly can. Artistic support. While no artists are paid from this budget, local artists will benefit from it being a part of the production. So those are Indiana artists, and that is great. IDEA, community engagement, marketing. This production brings theater to a community that does not offer access to many live performances. It seems as though the community has the opportunity to provide feedback on shows. And it's stated that the particular production is being brought back due to demand. So they're definitely looking at past experiences and bringing that into future decisions, and that's great. Seems like they're doing it for the community. Staffing in the project timeline, adequate and simple to understand. The budget as submitted does not seem to meet the requirements of the grant. It is stated that in-kind contributions are not to be added to the cash income or deducted from the expenses. I found the budget really confusing, and when I made notes and tried to make it add up, I was not able to do so. They had the income appearing to be 15,200, but when I did expenses, it was only 14,000. So the budget definitely needs to be looked at because that is supposed to even out. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you so much, Liz. And our second reader on this one is Deontay.
I have no additional comments. I had the same similar feedback.
That's great. Does anybody else have any additional comments or questions they'd like to ask? Okay, seeing none, you can go ahead and start updating your scores. I will let everyone know that after my performance in Oklahoma, I portrayed Rolf in The Sound of Music, who's the true hero of The Sound of Music, by the way. Perhaps I'm exaggerating my role. Okay. We'll go on to our next, and being from the drumline in high school, I love their name. Optimal Rhythms is our next item. And Jaleesa, you're up, having just been released from Zoom. JL, you get to do the first one for Optimal Rhythms.
Thank you for having me back. Under artistic quality, I noted very clear project purpose and focus, and also on utilizing feedback from campers, parents, caregivers to make the improvements. Detailed artistic documentation to demonstrate a meaningful experience. Indiana artists are being compensated financially, so I noted that as well. Under community engagement and IDEA, there were multiple areas that they were focusing on for the participants and for outreach, underserved communities, marketing and participation. The project is developed heavily with the community, strong IDEA strategies to increase access. Also noted that they provide training and coaching to the parents, caregivers, and volunteers. I've noted that I would like more information on an area in IDEA, the income, which might be a barrier. Later on, when I look at the budget, I did have note a question about, the cost of participation, so that could be a barrier to families. So just having some more information on strategies to address that specific barrier, if it is a barrier. I did notice that there was no information given about the process for measuring the project's impact. They only stated how it would later be shared. So we don't have any information on how they're gathering that information. Under project management, the project activities are listed, but there isn't a timeline listed. So we really don't have that information about how the project, for any type of engagement activities or activities leading up to or following the project, nothing specific in a timeline about how it's accomplished. And then as far as budget, everything looked fine. Again, I did note as far as participation, that might be a barrier, such as the income needed to participate in the program.
Great, thank you so much. And Liz, you are our second reader on Optimal Rhythms.
I agree with everything that she said. She hit a lot of points that I hit. The only thing that I have to add is the staffing seems adequate, but more information would be beneficial to the narrative. How many therapists, how many visiting homes, how many on site? That information would just be nice to have to see exactly how many staff are involved.
Great, thank you so much. Does anybody else have any additional comments or any questions on this item? Kyle?
Yeah, I was a little confused reading through this. Was the money going specifically for the mural that was being painted? Because I saw they talked that one Indiana artist was being paid, talked about that mural, and then students are going to make little canvas murals based off of that big mural. And then I noticed in the budget, they had commission 5,000 lined up exactly with that. I just was a little confused about specifically. It's like there was a lot of other information around it, but at the heart of it was this just for one mural, which is fine, no problem with that. It's just I was a little confused reading it personally.
Yeah, from my reading it, I took it as the mural was something that was already created, and it was previously created, but then that the artwork that the participants would be creating would be not directed from the mural, but inspired by the mural and that artist who created the mural. So yeah, that the mural was already created. But I would, if there's some additional.
Great, any additional comments? If not, go ahead and update your online scores. I will still posit that had I turned the Von Trapps over to the evil Nazis at the end, that Sound of Music would have ended badly. That's why I'm the hero. I only had one song, but it was really good. Okay, everybody good? Great. Our next item, our next application is from Patchwork Central in Evansville, and our first reader on that's Kyle.
Yeah, so going through this, seems like a great application. Patchwork, the art that they're making is very diversified in that they're showing different types of art instruction. I really like that. After school arts education is really important, especially in like specifically their community where you can, the need for after school arts education seems pretty high. The name Arts and Smarts is dynamite. That is just good. That's a good name. That's good branding. Artist support, 12 artists from Indiana are receiving a total of $2,030. Seems like that's great. Imagine the 5,000 will be from that. Let's see, let's keep going. Let's keep going. I'm also on a laptop and it is also betraying me. Yes, so on the next one, the community they serve is directly within a mile radius of the place. This shows great investment in what the community wants and needs. They have a great understanding of what the community wants, also offering it at no cost is wonderful to these families and students alike. They adapt their projects to feedback. It also allows independent thinking amongst the students as they are given the opportunity to explore their creativity. I've seen plenty of these sort of things where you have to make this art exactly. So their thing is, we're going to show you the art and then let you start exploring your creativity. Come on, just dynamite. Budget seemed good, but when I see too many numbers together at the same time, it just becomes a blur. Yeah, it all looked like it lined up. Yeah, so good. And again, Arts and Smarts, what a name.
Okay, that's Kyle. Thank you. That made me smile. You know, I haven't heard the Arts and Smarts. I love it. Okay, Ashley, you are our second reader on this. That gave me a big grin. Your love of that.
Absolutely. I echo the things that Kyle said. Great name. I love it. The only thing that I would add is that the call for artists that process seemed unclear. And I wasn't sure if there were outside opportunities to engage with artists from outside the neighborhood or where those artists were coming from. It just didn't seem clear to me. Also, I thought that it was really strong that they added the census data, which was really impactful in reading. And I think anytime you can throw data behind it, it's impactful. I wondered though, are there sensory or language or mobility barriers that are being addressed that could be highlighted in the future applications? So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley. Does anybody else have additional comments or questions about this application? Okay, if not, go ahead and update your online score. Preceding my appearance in Oklahoma and The Sound of Music, I was in Carousel where I played a part called a roustabout. I did not know what a roustabout was, and I still don't know, but it's basically you're a carny. I had no lines. Okay, so now we'll go on to our next, which our next application is another one from Pike County. It's the Pike County Public Library. And Liz, you're the first reader on that one.
Okay. My first thought was that this appears to be a well thought out first-year project. The library has identified a need within the community, is attempting to bring programming to fill that need. The process of working with local educators to see what interests young artists is well thought out. With so few opportunities for arts engagement in the community, the project should bring a measurable benefit to the community. The plan is written and the narrative is well thought out. It'll be interesting to see the success of this new project. The project will benefit young in Pike County and will financially benefit local artists who are leading the classes. So these definitely fits artist support really well. For IDEA, all good things. Working with local artists and elementary teachers, the project appears to be designed with the audience in mind and with the community input. The library is already free and open to all, so there is accessibility to all in the community. It would be helpful to have a better understanding of the methods used to measure the impact. Surveys are great. Are you going to survey the children, the parents? Will it be done on site? Will it be sent home? What specifically is the plan there to get that feedback? So if the program does continue, we know which way it needs to go. They say many forms of advertising will be used, but specifically what's going to be used. That would be nice to see. And here, project management, budget and staffing seem well thought out and reasonable for the project. The timeline feels vague and doesn't seem to include the planning and prep work needed for the project. Nice to see a breakdown of the classes being offered, even if we're not 100% sure what those are yet. Just an idea behind what it's going to be. The dates are in line with the granting period, though.
Great, thank you so much, Liz. And our next reader on the second reader on this one's Deontay.
I think they could have included more information about community input or how the activities were prioritized. But other than that, I have no additional comments.
Great, thanks so much. Does anyone else have any additional comment or any questions from this application? Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, I just want to talk about something that was brought up. The budget feels real funky to me because the artists are getting paid $500 and then there's $350 for chalk. And like, I'm an art teacher. I know how much chalk costs. And it just feels like they kind of bloated those numbers up to hit a rounder number. And it just feels a little weird. Like there's $900 on t-shirts. That sort of thing just feels a little off to me. I'm not saying they don't cost that much, but it just feels like, oh, okay, the artists are going to get $500 and then $900 on shirts.
Okay, any additional comments?
I had a similar comment about the expenses for the chalk walk. And if I read correctly, if the chalk walk was an activity or if it was how it was a part of the project, and mirroring those statements, the costs surrounding the chalk walk, and then also how much the artist fees are and some of the other supplies. It seemed a bit high in those areas.
I was just going to reply with how I took those numbers, because it was from what I read, and I could be reading it wrong, it felt to me like the chalk walk and the t-shirts were part of an art festival that was accumulating at the end of this program. And so it was going to involve quite a few more people. And I think that they're estimating a large turnout for that. And that's why those numbers were high and not 14 kids or 10 kids. But I was trying to find the exact numbers here, but it felt like they had numbers for that were pretty high. 84 for that, but then for the chalk walk event, they were expecting about 80 more to come and participate in that event. So those are pretty high numbers for the one-day event, I felt.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for all those wonderful comments. Go ahead and update your scores. Let everyone know that before I was harassed about, there is a beginning scene in The Miracle Worker, which was smartly removed from the film after my performance, where Annie Sullivan's brother dies of tuberculosis in her lap in the sanitarium. I had no lines, but I did cough, and then I died. And as Kensington will tell you, as a director, getting to die on stage happens more often than you'd think.
This is my favorite.
Everybody
part.
got their numbers in? Actually, I will tell you, I did get to cough, roll over, and die. I mean, it's every actor's dream, no memorization required.
I wish I could have seen it.
You probably don't mean that. Okay, with that one, go ahead and update all your scores again. You know, if you got to watch us on Facebook later, at least it should not be painful, right? I do believe that if we were put up for the funniest panel in all of the state of all the regions, I think we might win. So our next one is from Princeton up in Gibson County, the Princeton Band Boosters. And Kensington, you're the first reader on this one.
All right, here we go. So jumping up to the first section on the application for artistic quality, I said that I appreciated knowing how past grant funding helped keep costs low for participants. I did not see clearly stated how past experience will inform the project for this year. The submitted YouTube link is really high quality and it clearly shows the costuming and choreography. I would recommend to the applicant to give the panelists a starting timestamp to watch the video because we're only required to watch 3 minutes of it and the performance did not begin until 1:29. And I just want to make sure that we are seeing the most of the performance that they want us to view. It looks like all the paid parties are Indiana artists, which we love. Jumping down a little further to the next section. In section 2, I would love to hear specifically how families' input will be included in the development and the planning of the marching band. It does list that the families are encouraged to attend the meetings, but we don't know what the purpose of the meetings are or how and if their input is invited in the process. I'd love to know more about how the project is developed with the underserved communities in mind. I'm not sure. I'm also not sure how the sample marketing material, which was just a picture of the band logo that was submitted, helps really support the grant application. The Facebook page is up to date and engaging, which is always great. Jumping under project management. The project timeline starts in March of this year, the one that they're providing for us, but the project start date at the very top of the application is listed as 7/11 of 22, and the project end date is 11/12 of 22. It could just be a simple error in putting the wrong year, but I do want to bring that to their attention. And since the project grant funding is supposed to begin in, July of 23, clarifying that timeline, I think would be really helpful. And that's all my comments. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Kensington. And Kyle, you're our second reader on this application.
I don't have much to add. The idea of it going from $500 per applicant to $300 per applicant seems nice. My only thing is a little bit, this feels more of a function of a school compared to an independent like arts thing, like it feels very, which I mean, a lot of these are school related, but this one is very, very specifically school related. And they talk about all their achievements and all that. And I would hope with their achievements, they would receive more funding from their school.
Great. Thank you so much. Does anybody else have any questions or comments for this applicant? Okay, seeing none, go ahead and update your online scores. During our next break, I will discuss my cameo appearance in Young Frankenstein. So yes, I know Kensington's, I can tell how excited she is for that. So our next item we're going to do, this is a very long name. We're going to look at the application for the University of Southern Indiana, better known as USI locally, Division Outreach and Engagement, as they are doing business as the New Harmony Gallery of Contemporary Art, and that's in New Harmony in Posey County. Go ahead, Deontay, you're our first reader on this one.
Overall, I thought it was an exemplary response. It demonstrated a clear, well-planned artistic project. It also directly benefits the artists. The organization utilized past experience and community input. So it shows that they're trying to continue to improve that program. The only constructive feedback would be to provide details about specific actions that they're taking to ensure inclusivity and accessibility for all audiences, particularly those in underserved communities. The project budget indicates a stipend paid directly to the artist. So that's awesome. Nothing there. It also supports their career development, which is also an added benefit for artist support. I would say to improve in the area of measuring impact, they could cite specific partnerships and speak to how they're going to go about conducting the surveys and post activities, and how that will be, how they will use that to measure the impact. And then also how they plan to reach out to underserved communities that they seek to benefit, and what specific partnerships they have planned. So yeah, for the budget and timeline, I think that they had a very comprehensive overview of their staffing structure. The gallery highlighted roles and responsibilities of the key staff people, and they included the outgoing and incoming curator, so that's very well thought out and well defined. So yeah.
Great, thank you, Deontay. Jaleesa, you're next on this one. You're the second reader.
Yes, I just noted 2 items. They did talk about past experiences, but it wasn't really clear to me how they utilized the information from past experiences for the current project this year. And then also under the budget for expenses, combining expenses lacks transparency for me. So when they have shipping and project expenses of 7,000, shipping and project expenses are 2 different categories. So really having a little bit more transparency on that amount. And they combining printing and distribution, it'd be great if they separated that, but the fact that it's combined doesn't bother me as much as the shipping and project expenses, because project expenses is very vague and could mean anything. And it would just show us a little bit more planning as far as the budget for the project.
Great, thank you so much. Does anybody else have any additional questions or comments on this application? Kensington?
Yeah, I did just want to point out that I noticed that of all the artists they have coming in, only one is from Indiana. It's, we want to pay as many Indiana artists as possible. So just wanted to bring that to their attention as well.
Great, thank you so much. Anyone else want to add any comment or ask a question? Okay, if not, go ahead and you can update your online scores. Just let everyone know. And Young Frankenstein at the Evansville Civic Theater, I was Mr. Hilltop, which does not require any lines. It requires only some type of painful grunting. I encourage you to watch the scene. If you Google YouTube and Young Frankenstein, Mr. Hilltop, it's actually from the classic movie. It's a direct kind of repeat in the play. It's a very funny piece. Okay, everyone's scores are updated. That's great. So we're next going to go on to our 12th application today, and that's the Victory International Film Festival. And Jaleesa, you're back up as the first reader on this one.
Thank you. Under artistic quality, I noted clear, detailed information on goals and how past experiences inform the project and how it impacts the artist, and demonstrates how the project provides quality experiences for the audience. Under artist support, direct financial benefit, and it supports the works of Indiana artists. They're not all Indiana artists, but I did note that there's a specific category for Indiana made films as well. So I like that, because if you are showing, local, regional, international films, highlighting Indiana made films was very important. Under community engagement, IDEA, they focused on the diversity of the films provided, hoping that also that would bring in a diverse audience as well. So across age, race and ethnicity, cultural differences, gender, it was very hit on a lot of different points. There's a variety of ways that the community can provide impact. I noted, and I did like that they utilized other community events to collaborate with community members who had not attended the festival. So that was a good opportunity for them to reach community members that might not necessarily be in their wheelhouse of outreach. Strong IDEA strategies. They focus on making sure as well that the venue is accessible with handicap parking and wheelchair accessible, and that if there is a barrier of income, that the submission fees could be waived. So that was very important as well. So they hit on multiple different areas. for IDEA. In project management, again, I feel like I'm harping on this, but expenses could be itemized to show more clarity. Several expenses are lumped together. So again, that it would just help to show a little bit more planning and details as far as the budget.
Great. That is wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And Kensington, you're the second reader on this one.
Jaleesa hit on so many valuable points. Adding a few more, I thought that the supporting materials they provided with the film trailers and the 2022 full program were super dynamic and supportive to the application. So I really loved seeing that. The Hoosier Made category I thought was great too, because with having all of these films from all over the place, it's really nice to see Indiana represented specifically. Jumping down under project management, I thought the details, honestly, overall, I thought it was a really well put together grant. And that's all.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or other additions to this application? Ashley, and then Liz.
Just piggybacking on what's already been said, I thought that accessibility was clear, but I wondered if there were other opportunities such as descriptive video for visually impaired patrons, things that could be done to just make this event more accessible. And I also just wanted to note that their social media presence and everything were great, but I think that they're really missing an opportunity in TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram Reels. And so I'd really love to see their growth in that, since this is a very video heavy program. I'd love to see them utilize the platforms that also mirror video.
Liz?
That's great. My only comment that I had left to say was that I noticed that based off feedback, they opened another location for viewing. And that is really excellent to opening opportunities for people to come and view this with having two locations spread across town. That was really nice to see.
Well, thank you. So everybody go ahead and update your scores. I'll just note during this that I've been looking on the website Stage Agent, which gives you information on parts and plays, and Mr. Hilltop's part size is listed as featured. That means little. And then the vocal part, as opposed to Harold, who can be a tenor, a baritone, or a bass, Mr. Hilltop is silent. No singing capabilities required. And I have very few of them. Okay, there we go. So our next one from up in Knox County, the Vincennes Knox Preservation Foundation application. And Kyle, you're our first reader on that one.
All right, on this one, yeah, public sculpture exhibition. I like the jurying process for it, especially the idea that it is going to be there on loan for 3 years. They talk about it later, and I wish they would have mentioned it earlier, is with the people involved in it really helps underscore the strength of the artwork being chosen. The committee, I think it said that 4 of the people on the committee out of 9 have Masters of Fine Arts. So it's nice to see people with their terminal degrees helping make decisions on these things, and that they're providing that information as well. Artist support, it's a national call, but 6 of the artists are from Indiana. So, ooh, it's being weird. Yes, and the community one. I like the idea of having artist talks help support the show, and keeping works outdoors helps with distancing and COVID health related things. I do have an issue with the underserved communities thing, just because they address it so specifically with underserved communities, but not necessarily more than that. Like, they just say that their communities are low income, elderly, and migrant workers. This is what it specifically says, but then I don't know, it just didn't seem like they really had too much to necessarily say about, just that it is that way. And yeah, having Spanish text version, I really like that. But yeah, I just I think I just got kind of lost in that one. Project management, it's really nice. And again, I'm talking about the people involved in it. Very like good use of people. And then it's going to be transitioning from one person in charge to another. Detailing that, not keeping it really hidden. Yeah, good. It looks good.
Cool. Thanks, Kyle. So our second reader on this application is Liz.
Sorry, my notes didn't indicate that, so I wasn't quite ready. Overall, I really agree what Kyle has had to say here. It's really great. I feel like they are definitely in their community, paying attention to their community, looking at what they want. Under project management, I had the staff for a single event and exhibition is adequate. However, the timeline doesn't feel very fleshed out. I'd like to see more information provided in regards to deadlines, show the work leading up to the installation, including the timeline for installation and events happening around the exhibition, the dates for shipping and required travel, if any, plus time for teardown and packing. Workshop dates might not be available right now, but you know, looking at past experiences, how many workshops have there been in the past? What do they think they might do? Something here to flesh this out, because it doesn't feel very finished to me. Having worked in the art, specifically shipping art, the budget didn't seem to include an item line for shipping. Maybe that's the travel fee, but that really was a red flag for me, not seeing that on there.
Does anybody else have any additional comments or questions on this one? Okay, if not, then you can go ahead and update your online scores. And we have now been, for those of you watching at home and for our panel, we have now been going for an hour. We have 4 applications left. Is it okay if we power through, panel, and go ahead and finish them? Or would you like to take a break? Power through? Power through? Okay, then we'll power through. Our next application is another Knox County, Vincennes University, Shercliffe Gallery, and Ashley is the first reader on that one.
All right. So looking at the gallery in Knox County, again, sorry for the laptop scrolling. So I love seeing elevated Black voices in Knox County, Indiana. That is, I believe, extremely impactful. I noted that in artist support, none of the artists listed in the show are from Indiana, but I do think that the show will be impactful to the residents and the students in Knox County. The social media and marketing materials that were attached were lovely. I was excited seeing the catalog of what the show will look like. I appreciate the Green Lantern reference in the name of the show. I wondered if there were opportunities to create access to the exhibit for local middle and high schoolers, because the representation in this particular show would be impactful for students that are often underrepresented, especially in rural communities like Knox County. And were there opportunities to form a show selection committee to bring diverse voices to the table? It seemed that that was pretty limited. The timeline isn't clear beyond show dates, whether there's how they're getting all of these things, what that timeline looks like. It was pretty simplistic in their listing, so I think they could definitely improve upon that. But I thought that the staffing and the budget were clear. That is all that I have.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ashley. And Kyle, you're our second reader on this one.
I don't have too much to add. I mirror most of those ideas or comments. I do really like that they worked with different student groups on campus to kind of like generate the idea of what shows they wanted to get. And just more than anything else, this show looks dope. Like this show looks really, really good. Like it started off with an MF Doom painting on the front. Like I'm already there. I can't wait for this show. Everything else, I just am going to trust that the gallery was going to facilitate. I'm too much of a trusting person probably, but it doesn't matter. This show looks awesome. So.
That's great. Thank you. Anybody else have any additional comments to add on this one? Okay, seeing none, go ahead and update your scores. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Thumbs up. Everybody good? Cool, cool, cool. Wonderful. Okay, our next one that we're going to go over, this is the Warwick County Public Education Foundation. And we believe it looks like here that Kensington, you're a first reader on that one.
All right. So under artistic quality, I thought the examples of quality look professional and are very supportive of the application. I would like to hear more about the artists who will be financially benefiting from the project, including where they are from in this section. That helps to ensure that the project is financially benefiting specifically Indiana artists. Under the next area, I do like that they took feedback from the past grant panels to help make the tickets more affordable for families by reducing the student ticket price. I'd love to hear more about how the participation fee waiver option works for the students. Like, for example, how easy is it for them to access? Love to know more about that, because I think that's a nice way to make sure everybody gets to be involved if they want to be involved. The Facebook page and Instagram are both active and engaging. And then jumping down to project management, I would like to hear more about the summer music director's relevant experience and hear more about what other staff that they work with. The applicant has provided a wealth of knowledge in regards to the planning process. I think my personal preference would be to have an estimated start and end date at the beginning of each section, again, just so that it's easier to read. But overall, very detailed and thorough project management. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kensington. And our next reader on this one's Jaleesa.
And I don't have anything to add.
There you go. Okay. Does anybody else have any comments they'd like to add or questions they have about this application? Okay, seeing none, go ahead and update your online scores. And when you get done updating those scores, we'll be moving on to our local WNIN, our Tri-State Public Media Station. And I'll just preview the discussion of public media with, of course, my favorite people on public media, which are Bert and Ernie. And you know what Ernie said when Bert asked him if he wanted to have ice cream. Sure, Bert. So with that, we'll now move on to WNIN, Tri-State Public Media Incorporated in Evansville, Indiana. And Deontay, you get to follow my Bert and Ernie joke.
I love Bert and Ernie too. To the artist quality, I felt that it's community focused, the production team being from the area. And then the team includes experienced professionals and up and coming artists. So that to me indicates a balance between quality and accessibility. And then the project budget, speaking to artist support, the project budget includes stipends for all the artists involved, which is positive indication that the applicant's commitment to supporting Indiana artists was present. As far as IDEA, overall, it's a strong proposal that incorporates IDEA strategies. I would say that the response could be enhanced by including interviews or some type of post activity wrap-up meeting And it'd be beneficial to provide more information on how marketing materials and social media presence reflect those that they're seeking to serve. And sharing projected participation figures would have helped more. But overall, as far as project management goes, the organization demonstrated a strong ability to design and implement a project, and I believe that it looks like that it would be effective. And so yeah, those are my comments.
Great, thank you so much, Deontay. And Ashley, you are the second reader on this one.
Great. So echoing what Deontay brought up, I would just like to add, are there opportunities to engage communities that are affected by gun violence during the production versus only for screening purposes? Just bringing, again, voices to the table that can speak as expert lived experience experts. I also wondered if this film would be used to start conversation with any city or county leadership to enact any policy change, or if we're just making a film to make a film. And then again, what local experts would be engaged in script writing and storytelling, places like Wesselman Woods for Deontay, or Zero Waste Evansville, EPD, Vanderbilt County Sheriff's, etc. Just making sure that the story being told is as accurate as possible by bringing voices to the table.
Excuse me. Great. Thank you, Ashley. Does anybody else have additional comment or anything they wish to add on this application? Okay, seeing none, go ahead and update your online scores. Okay, wonderful. If everybody's done, we are now to our last application for this year's round for Arts Project Support, and that is the application from the Working Men's Institute in Posey County. And our first reader on that's Liz.
Okay, so looking at this for artistic quality, under goals and impact, there seems to be some support in the narrative for the project being valuable and worthwhile, but the goals are not listed in a clear and cohesive way. I'd like to see some specific goals to be defined here. However, from the narrative, it appears the importance of traditional artistic medium and making it relevant is maybe a goal. Just really like to see that stated. The quality of the program seems very, very clear. The artists involved have excellent experience, in-depth look at the process, including down to the dyeing of the yarns. For artistic support to artists, they're directly financially benefiting are both from Indiana, so it fulfills both of these requirements. It even goes further in that the attendees will greatly benefit from this program in terms of exposure to a hands-on art medium and the knowledge they will gain about the history of it and its use in present and past culture. It's very strong. Under IDEA, it's just really strong. It's a very strong application. The information in the narrative is clear and concise. It's obvious this program is made for the community it serves and is filling a much needed void in after-school programming. What with the closing of the local school and not having after-school programming anymore, this is an excellent opportunity for young people to engage in the arts, but it's also open to all. So having all ages working together in an arts program, you don't see that very often. That's really exciting to me to see that, especially in a small community like New Harmony, where it's all ages for everything all the time. The expected participation numbers seem accurate and achievable based off of prior experiences. The staffing appears competent and adequate for the program. The timeline is thorough. It's giving enough information to us to see how the project will come together. The budget seems balanced and appropriate. Also, their last project, they stated that they added on to it in the middle of it because the demand was so high. So they're definitely looking at what they're doing, looking at what their community wants and reacting immediately to that. So that's great. That's all.
Thank you, Liz. And Deontay, you're the second reader on this one.
Liz summed it up. I have no additional comments.
That's wonderful. Does anybody else have any questions or comments on this one? Okay, then go ahead and update your online scores. Might just mention while our panel's doing that, if you ever go to Working Men's Institute in New Harmony, William McClure, who was the founder, who was part of the Second Utopian Experience in New Harmony, commissioned a number of artists to paint famous 16th and 17th century masterpieces from Europe. And they hang in a gallery at the Working Men's Institute, and they're fakes. He hired local artists to reproduce famous so that people in New Harmony would have the opportunity to see what masters' arts looked like. It's a really interesting, because people couldn't travel to Europe back in the day very easily. Fun little thing about New Harmony. So with that, does everybody have their scores in? Okay, with that, believe it or not, I want to just on behalf of the Indiana Arts Commission and our regional arts partner, the Arts Council of Southwestern Indiana, I really want to thank these panelists. If you're watching this as a grant applicant or a member of the public, and you're watching this at home, this takes a lot of work. You could tell the detail that all of these panelists spent doing the work to make sure that these applications receive the thorough evaluation that each of them deserve. So at this time, this will conclude our FY24 Arts Project Supports Region 10 panel. Applicants will be notified of the status of their grant following the June meeting of the Indiana Arts Commission. If you have any questions in the interim, you can contact Ann McKim at the Arts Council in Evansville. And with that, thank you. And we'll turn it over and give the chance now for our staff from the Indiana Arts Commission to go ahead and close down our Facebook Live and other online models.